What if the safest place you knew, your grandmother's house, had been patiently collecting the people it loved, one face at a time? I'm Silas Mortis. I don't invent the things I tell you. I go down into the parts of the internet most people never scroll to, into the locked forums and the dark web dead drops and the places screams get archived, and I pull the true ones back up into the light. Tonight's came off Reddit's r/nosleep, posted at 3:47 in the morning by an account that has not logged in since. The title was 4 words. The house remembers faces. Sit close. Don't check the stairs. Now let's get into the story. I moved into my grandmother's house the winter after she died, and I want to be clear about something before I tell you the rest. I love that house. That's the part nobody warns you about. It's easier when the bad place looks bad. Grand's place sat at the end of Underhill Road outside St. Johnsbury, Vermont, a white farmhouse with green shutters and a wraparound porch that groaned like a person waking up. Snow to the second step. The realtor left the key in one of those gray lock boxes on the door, and when I popped it open, my breath came out in a cloud and I thought, okay, I can do this. I was 31 and I had nothing else. That's the honest version. Denise and I had signed the papers in October. My apartment lease ended the same week the lawyer called about the estate, and it felt less like an inheritance than like the last chair being pulled out just as the music stopped. So I said yes. I drove up from Hartford with everything I owned in a rented Ford, and I let the house take me in. The portrait started at the bottom of the staircase and climbed with you. There were 11 of them. Oil paintings, all of them in those heavy gilt frames that weigh more than the wall should hold. Gran had always called them the relations, and as a kid I believed her. Great uncles, a cousin who went west, a woman in a high lace collar who Gran said had died of a fever the same year the barn burned. I used to make up voices for them. Now they watch me haul boxes up to the second floor, and I said hello to them out loud because the house was very quiet, and I was very alone, and talking to paintings seemed better than talking to nothing. The first night, I slept 12 hours. Grief does that. I woke to gray light and the smell of cold, and a note in my own handwriting on the kitchen counter reminding me to call the oil company because the furnace was running low. I made coffee in Gran's dented percolator. I told myself I was going to be fine. It was the 4th morning that the woman in the lace collar looked tired. I noticed it going down for coffee. I stopped on the 3rd stair the way you stop when you walk into a room and something's been moved, but you can't say what. Her face. I'd have sworn it was smoother, younger. Now there were lines at the corners of her eyes, a heaviness under them, like she'd been up all night with a sick child. I stood there with my hand on the cold banister, and I laughed at myself. You've been crying and sleeping and crying. Of course, the dead lady looks tired. You look tired. I want you to notice that I explained it away. I'm good at that. Hold on to it. That week, I told myself a lot of things. When the 3rd stair started creaking on its own at night, I told myself it was the house settling in the cold. Old houses do that. Everyone knows old houses do that. When I found the deadbolt thrown on the inside of the front door one morning and I hadn't thrown it, I told myself I'd done it half asleep. When the woman in the lace collar kept aging, week over week, her jaw softening, her hair going gray at the temples, I finally did what a rational person does. I took a picture of her with my phone. A baseline. Proof, either way. The next morning I compared them, and the woman in the photo and the woman on the wall were not the same age, and I sat down on the stairs and did not get up for a while. Here's the thing, I have to make you understand. My first thought wasn't the house. My first thought was Gran, because I'd found the letters by then. They were in a hat box in her closet, rubber banded, dozens of them, in Gran's spidery hand, all addressed to people and never sent. My dear Thomas, my dear Ruth, names. And when I matched the names to the little brass plates on the bottoms of the frames, my skin went to ice water. She'd been writing to the portraits for years. I'm sorry it has to be this way, one said. I'm sorry, but the house needs feeding, and I am so tired, and you are the only one left who might come. You, the only one left who might come. I'm ashamed of what I thought about my grandmother in that stairwell. I thought she'd done something to those people. I thought the sweet old woman who taught me to fish had trapped souls in oil and canvas, had lured the only one left up a snowy road with a lockbox and a lawyer's phone call, and I stood in her closet holding her sad little letters, and I hated her. I actually said it out loud. What did you do? That was the misdirection I built myself. The house didn't even have to lie to me. Grief did the lying. I was so busy being afraid of a dead woman that I stopped watching the walls. I decided to leave. Obviously, I decided to leave. You're screaming it at your screen right now. I know. Just leave. I packed the Ford. I turned the knob on the front door, and it turned freely, easily, the way a doorknob is supposed to. And I felt so stupid for being afraid. And I pulled, and the door held. Swollen in the frame, I thought. Snow and cold, wood expanding. I put my shoulder into it. I went around to the back door and the kitchen door and the cellar bulkhead. Every one of them turned freely in my hand. Every one of them held. I want to be fair to myself. I didn't panic yet. There was a landline. Gran kept a landline, an actual rotary phone the color of a Band-Aid, and I picked it up and there was a dial tone, God help me, a real dial tone, and I dialed 911 and it rang. It rang 4 times. And a woman answered and said, St. Johnsbury emergency. What's your... And then her voice smeared, slowed, dropped an octave like a tape dragging and went to a long, flat hum. And under the hum, faint, I heard a sound I knew, the percolator, bubbling, the exact rhythm of coffee brewing, coming down the phone line from somewhere that was not my kitchen. I hung up. I didn't call again. The cell signal, you're wondering. 1 bar sometimes. My text to Denise showed as delivered. She never wrote back. Later, much later, I'd understand that the phone was letting me believe I was reaching out, the same way the door let me believe I was leaving, the same way the letters let me believe the danger was a dead woman. The house didn't trap me. It let me exhaust myself. It's a patient thing. It has all the time it needs. The furnace started dying on the 9th day. I'd been putting off the basement because basements in old farmhouses are where the dark lives, but the radiators had gone lukewarm and the oil gauge in the mudroom read past empty. So down I went with a flashlight into the smell of dirt and iron and old apples. The furnace was a hulking green thing from the 50s. I got it lit again. Gran had taped the instructions to the side in the same spidery hand. And I was backing away when the flashlight swung across the wall behind it. There was a painting back there, not hung, leaning face to the stone in the gap between the furnace and the foundation, where no one would find it unless the heat died and drove them down. My hands did not want to turn it around. I made them. It was unfinished. That was the first thing. Great swaths of raw canvas, the paint thickest at the center and thinning to nothing at the edges, like something still being drawn in. A young man. The jaw was done. The mouth was done, pressed thin the way a mouth goes when someone is trying not to be afraid. The eyes were half painted, tired, ringed underneath. And I knew those eyes. I'd been washing them in Gran's cracked bathroom mirror for 9 days, and the little brass plate at the bottom of the frame was polished bright and blank and waiting for a name. Mine. That's when the last misdirection came apart, because I finally understood the aging. The woman in the lace collar hadn't been dying in that frame. She'd been getting older than she ever got to be. They all had. The house wasn't holding the dead. The house was holding the last tenants, everyone who'd ever come up that snowy road thinking they were saved, everyone who loved this place enough to stay. And it aged them on the wall, the way you'd age a photo, decade after decade, keeping them, wearing them, until it was hungry again and reached out for the only one left who might come. Gran wasn't the monster. Gran was portrait number 11. Those letters weren't confessions. They were apologies. I'm sorry, but the house needs feeding. She'd been the tenant before me. She'd climbed these same stairs after her grandmother died and loved the green shutters and the groaning porch, and the door had turned uselessly in her hand too, and she'd spent 40 years up there on the wall writing sorry, sorry, sorry to the only person left who might one day drive up from Hartford with everything he owned in a rented Ford. I ran at the front door. I don't know how many times. I found a hatchet in the mudroom and I swung it, and the blade sank into the wood and would not come out. And when I let go the handle, it was warm, blood warm, and I swear this on the letters, I heard the house sigh. Content. Like a man settling deeper into a chair, I stopped fighting somewhere around the third week. You do. That's the part I most need you to hear, because it's the part that'll happen to you if you're ever the only one left who might come. The fighting is the loud part, the running and the hatchet and the screaming into a dead phone. But the fighting ends, and what's underneath it is so quiet. The radiators tick, the snow comes down, the percolator bubbles even though I stopped feeling it. And every morning I go down to the stairwell and I count, and there are 12 of us now, and the newest one has my jaw. I've been up on the wall for a while now. Time doesn't work the way it used to. I measure it in tenants. My eyes have finished. They're tired eyes. I've watched my own face age past where the man in the Ford ever got to go. And some mornings I look almost like Gran did in the lace collar days. And I think that's the house's little joke. I'm posting this the only way I can. The house lets me have the phone sometimes. It likes me to reach out. That's how it works. It doesn't hunt. It waits. It lets you find it, lets you love it, lets you inherit it. So if a lawyer ever calls you about a white farmhouse at the end of a snowy road, a place you loved as a child, a place with green shutters and portraits climbing the stairs, do not go up to see the relations. And if you're already inside and you've told yourself the door is only swollen and the tired woman in the lace collar is only paint, check behind the furnace. The frame down there is finished now. The little brass plate has a name on it at last. It's been waiting a long time for the next one. It might be waiting for you. That's where the post ends. The account never logged in again. I checked the property records for St. Johnsbury before I recorded this, and there is a house on Underhill Road, and it has changed hands 11 times, and every deed passed from a grandparent to a single grandchild, and every one of those grandchildren stopped appearing in public records the winter they moved in. The house is listed again right now. Estate sale. One photo. Green shutters. I'm not going to tell you not to look it up. I'm just going to tell you what happens to people who do. If this one crawled under your skin, do me a favor and hit that like button. It's the single biggest thing you can do to help this channel grow and push these stories in front of people who need to hear them. Subscribe if you're not already. I go down into the dark and come back with a new true one for you every single day. And share this with someone who loves old houses a little too much. They'll want the warning. Thank you for listening and for watching and for staying to the end with me. There's another story waiting for you on your screen right now. I picked it just for you. Lock your door. I'll see you back here tomorrow.